We're back and we're looking at common causes of a hypothyroid condition, or we're looking at specifically different types of patterns that cause an underactive thyroid. And when we first started off, we looked at Hashimoto's or autoimmune type conditions that cause underactive thyroid. In most cases, that's at the root cause of an underactive thyroid. But there are many other patterns we're going to get into. And today we're looking at an underactive pituitary gland. And in order to explain that, I need to explain a little bit how thyroid hormone is made. And we're going to look at what's called the HPT axis. And the H stands for the hypothalamus, which is in the brain. And it sends a hormone called thyroid releasing hormone to the pituitary. And the pituitary is also in the brain, and it sends out TSH. And this hormone will be very important because we're going to talk about it quite a bit. Thyroid stimulating hormone to the thyroid, and the goal of this hormone is to help produce thyroid hormone, T4 and T3. We'll talk about this a lot more later on, but for today, the TSH is of importance because when people go get their lab work, one of the markers that is usually often tested, sometimes the only time tested, is the TSH. And typically, TSH, when it's high, it means that T4 is low, and when TSH is low, it means T4 is high in most cases, but it's not always the case. And that's what I want to bring our attention to when it comes to optimal ranges versus standard ranges. You'll see that the standard range, 0.35 to 5.5, is much a wider range than the optimal range of 1.8 to 3. And it's important to work within the optimal range or the health range versus pathological ranges, because if you wait to be outside of these ranges, you may be on medication for the rest of your life. So we want to look for healthy ranges. So in relationship to the pituitary, if we see, we'll be talking about TSH a lot more later, but if this number, for example, someone's lab came back 1.5 underneath this 1.8, we can look upstream, and because this is really an assessment of how well the pituitary is pumping out this hormone. And if it's not there, you're automatically going to have a lot. If you're not getting, if the message is not being sent from the brain to the thyroid to produce these, you can see that the cause is upstream, the pituitary, possibly the hypothalamus. So what I want to cover today is one of the major reasons why an underactive pituitary gland can actually cause this type of situation. And one of the things that really mess up the pituitary is stress. And we'll get into it more later, but the hypothalamus pituitary is also part of another axis called the HPA axis, which is the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, which deals with the stress response. So you can see this is this has a lot to do with multiple systems in the body, stress being a big component of what makes this maybe mess up. And whenever there's stress involved, there are hormone issues typically. Hormones. So when I see a number like this, one of the things we're looking at is what is causing the things upstream to do this. Now, although there are 7 steps to sometimes balancing out hormones, I'm going to just give you one tip here right now that's a free tip. You just need to press into it, and it can actually start balancing this and start healing an underactive pituitary, possibly a hypothalamus. It's a very natural thing, and it's called sleep. And if you can get to bed at the right time for the right length, it's going to make a big difference in your health when it comes to the pituitary hypothalamus. And in the winter months, from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. is that ideal window. And then during the summer months, about 10:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. or 6:30 a.m. would be that ideal window where you're getting physical repair and the mental repair. And this is going to do a lot for healing the hormones and a lot for dealing with stress, helping the pituitary, helping the hypothalamus, and indirectly, or actually even directly in this line, helping the thyroid, which is a major cause of hypothyroid issues. Now, in order to understand this, you sometimes got to test and know what you're looking for. what the test means, and what to do about it once you have these patterns. So this is one very common one I see a lot where it's upstream, and so far we've covered two patterns. One, Hashimoto's, which is an immune system issue, and two, underactive pituitary, and it's oftentimes a hormone issue. So you can see there's a lot of other things you need to look at just besides the thyroid. You're going to find out a lot of thyroid function is dependent on other systems of the body, and we're going to get into this more in these future little messages.